I mean, the people that are demagoguing it are the Democrats.
Oh, come on. You can't say that the Republicans haven't been doing at least as much demagoguing over the past 7 years.
No, I'll give you an example. The Democrats are making a big deal about how if Trump Care goes through, there's going to be all these people that won't be insured anymore. Some say 15 million, 14 million, 24 million, and that, and they have these pictures.
Wait, hold on.
Little
The
old
Democrats
ladies
didn't
dying.
say that. The CBO said that.
Okay, the CBO is most of the time wrong, by the way. They can't predict a damn thing. But the point is,
They're wrong in some things, and I mean, it's like any predictive thing.
But what your Democrat media isn't telling you is that the reason so many people will be uninsured is that millions of people like myself that are in perfect health won't want any health care. I don't want medical insurance. It's because of asshole Democrats that I was forced to spend thousands of dollars on medical insurance that I did not ask them for. And that's what happens when you have socialism taking over people's lives. That's why I hate socialism, among other reasons. It always ends in tyranny.
How old are you?
56.
So,
I've never had health insurance in my life, and I've never been to a hospital. And what Obamacare was doing was taking people that were 30 and in great shape, who didn't want health
putting them
insurance,
in risk pools,
and forcing them to buy it. Like typical Democrats that want to make America like the old Soviet Union.
you can't compare having medical coverage, whether it's needed or not, to living in the Soviet Union.
Well, you see, that's the Democrats' plan, though. They want to do it incrementally.
No, because
See,
that's just
Obama-
all right. Let's talk about the future. Let's not talk about frickin' the Democrat conspiracy. It's Democratic Party conspiracy. By the way, when you say Democrat, that was a Republican tactic. Call it the Democrat Party instead of Democratic Party, because Democrat Party sounds a little worse than Democratic Party. So
Because it's not really democratic. You want to force me to do things against my will.
you want to say Democrat because it sounds slightly crappier than Democratic.
Yeah, because you're not democratic. You want to police my speech.
Somebody focus group saying Democrat Party instead of Democratic Party, and you guys are the king of focus grouping and branding.
I always hated calling you people democratic because I know you're a bunch of fascists. You want to police my speech. You want to force me to buy health insurance of a certain type.
All right, let's go back to the future. You said to keep you in line, so.
All right.
All right, so let's talk about one other thing related to medicine, which is eugenics.
Hold for it.
What's that?
I
Okay,
asked
eugenics
you all
is the pseudoscience, for the most part, of improving the human genome or human stock or just the human population by selective breeding or prohibition of breeding. The idea came about after Darwin, late 1800s. It probably starts popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And then is moved into practice in various ways in the first half of the 20th century, with the idea being that if you could stop inferior people from breeding, you'd be left with superior babies and eventually a better human race.
And you know who one of the pioneers of that was?
Hitler?
Hitler and the head of Planned Parenthood in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because she was a racist and she didn't want black children. So she created these abortion mills, Planned Parenthood, that you Democrats have been supporting ever since.
All right, so yeah, she was, I believe, a eugenicist.
Yeah, and the point is that Democrats are in love with abortion and Planned Parenthood, not realizing that it was created to cut down on the number of blacks in the United States. Thanks again, Democrats, you hypocrites.
3.3% or so of Planned Parenthood's business has to do with abortion.
But that amounts to 300,000 abortions per year. Thank you.
Well, eugenics aside, not people not having 300,000 babies that they don't want doesn't seem like a terrible thing. Now, everybody, the entire science of statistics was developed by racist assholes. And eugenics was embraced by, the trouble with eugenics, the one big problem with eugenics is, who gets to decide who's an inferior human being? And it's racists for the most part. And they tried all sorts of, racists decide that say black people are inferior, and so yeah, they try to stop, especially black people they considered feeble-minded or obstreperous. All sorts of black people got tossed into institutions where they, were sterilized and such because they weren't necessarily simple-minded, but they were, I don't know. Anyway, the science is bad because you have race, you can't decide who's inferior because the tools for deciding that have been shown to historically have been racist. Like the first IQ tests were extremely biased towards white Northern Europeans.
Yeah, as I understand it, Jews scored very low on those.
Yeah, and we all know that Jews are super fucking smart.
Can't argue with that, sir. On that, we have agreement.
All right, so that's thing wrong. That's thing one wrong with eugenics. Thing two is that who knows scientifically if it doesn't hold that much water that if you don't let inferior people reproduce, that you'll only be left with superior people. So anyway, that kind of eugenics is dangerous and racist. But there's a whole new type of eugenics where you don't even have could show up as part of genetic engineering, which is going to become increasingly widespread. People will have the wherewithal eventually within the next 20, 30 years, to pick many of the genetic characteristics that their kids have. And then slightly farther into the future, people will be able to tweak their own genetics throughout their lives. If you have a genetic deficiency of something, you'll be able to be injected with or infected with a virus that gets into your cells and fixes that genetic problem. And so people are going to be able to choose what they want to be like, both for themselves and for their kids. And some people are worried about that, like people with, I want to break for a second because I'm going to talk myself into a boring, nonsensical corner. Ow.